I'm going to show you two ways of how vision works, or how middle blockers read the game or observe what's on the other side of the court. And when we analyze them, we're going to see how different results they give when it comes to being able to read the intentions of the setter earlier. So here's the first example. If we look at it frame by frame and analyze how the Japanese middle blocker behaves, we can see that at first he looks at the ball, but later on all his focus is on the French middle blocker. So we can see him moving with the opponent, but his head remains directed forward. So that means that his vision is also directed forward. So the Japanese middle blocker exactly knows where his opponent is going. Maybe he can also see how the outside hitter behaves on the pipe, but that way he doesn't see what is going on with the setter. In all these clips, the setters will show the same pattern. So an early bend when setting backwards. A few frames before, they show their intentions. But because the Japanese middle blocker is looking only at his opponent, he can't see this movement of the body before. So he reacts after the touch. His head moves once the ball is on its way to the right side. So now let's head to another example which shows us how it can be done better. And here, based on the example of the Brazil middle blocker, we can see that first she's scanning her opposing middle blocker to see what play they have set up. But once she sees that her middle blocker is going for a shoot, then she quickly focuses her vision on the setter. And this, of course, allows her to catch that sign from the setter earlier. She notices her way of positioning towards the right side, plus there is that early spine bend. So even though her vision is focused on the setter, she has both things figured out because she knows the details about the setter, she can see her signs, but it doesn't mean that she lost the track of the middle blocker. She can still see with the peripheral vision where she is placed on the court. That way, if the middle blocker gets the set, then she knows where to jump. And another example, here we can see the Italian middle blocker, and she pretty much didn't even focus on her opponent. Who knows, maybe the decision was made before the play, on a timeout or something, but what we know is that once again her vision, her eyes are directed at the setter. And here as well we can see the early signs of the back set, the whole pattern, how the body starts to bend, and we can see that the middle blocker makes her split step even before the set, so that way she's shifting efficiently to the pin and it results in a very nice passive block. The point of this video was to teach you about two types of vision. The central field vision, so when we focus on one particular object and we can see it perfectly, but we also have the peripheral vision, so whenever we focus on one object we can still see something in the background, a lot of all the other things we can see them in the background. So those things are not within our focus, but we can still figure out where they are or whether they are moving. So in the first example, the middle blocker chose to focus his central vision on the opponent middle blocker. That way he knew basically all the details and everything about the middle blocker, but he didn't know what's going on with the setter. And the second situation, which in my opinion is much more efficient, is when the middles focus their vision and attention on the setter, because that central field allowed them to catch all the details necessary to read the game, so all the signs that the setters were giving before. But at the same time, the peripheral vision allowed them to not miss on the important background information. So like the positioning on the court or the tempo that they're going with, whether they are still a few meters away from the net or maybe they are jumping before the set. So we can access this information with the peripheral vision. We don't need to fully focus our eyes on the middle blocker to pick these things up. Of course, it's worth noting that we won't always be able to efficiently look directly at the setter because, for example, when the ball is perfectly delivered to the net, then the setter catches the ball at a high level and the perspective changes. So we won't be able to pick up some of those useful details. But generally, when the ball is a bit off the net, it becomes easier and easier to read the intentions. Once again, we don't want to look at the ball. We don't want to put all of our focus on the opposing middle blocker. We want our eyes on the setter. We want to read the setter and at the same time be able or to work on our peripheral vision to be able to pick up these less detailed information.